Hi everybody, we've got a rainy day here in Eau Claire. I was on my way to Owen Park Band Shell to do this, and I saw this little shelter here on the Chippewa River right across from Pablo Center there. This might be a nice place to stop and have the chat. So I'm holding up a bag so the wind doesn't hit the microphone so hard. We'll see. In case I look a little physically ill at ease, I'm holding this thing. But well, you know, Holy Week is coming right up. We have Palm Sunday on Sunday, and you know, it always is kind of a nervous time, I think, for a lot of priests and pastors, because we want to do real well and make it meaningful for people. But I have to say, I'm really finding excitement in it, because compared to last year, I mean, last year we really dug deep, and but there are no people for the liturgies, right? We just taped them and people watched them, and so now we'll have not a full church because we'll have distancing, but it'll be great to celebrate, you know, Palm Sunday with palms and with people, and Mass of the Lord's Supper, the Sacred Triduum, Mass of the Lord's Supper, Good Friday, and Easter Vigil. So all that's coming up. I remember, in some class I took, they talked about the way that we celebrate these things. It's like when we, was it the Jewish Passover? Or it's when they remember, like, the Passover meal. They say it's as though when they crossed the Red Sea, we got our feet a little wet ourselves. It's like we remember, we join ourselves to that moment in history. So we'll be doing the same thing, Mass of the Lord's Supper, Palm Sunday, all that, to really try to let those events sink deeper into our bones so we remember them once again. So anyway, looking forward to that. Maybe quickly on that. So sign-ups continue to be the thing. We need people to sign up. We were going to go every other pew starting after Easter. All these Holy Week liturgies filled up, going every third pew. So with a lot of work on Christine's part, we rescheduled everything to be every other pew so more people can come. So it's great that people want to come. It's lovely. We just don't want to be irresponsible, right, with our precautions. So anyway, that's good. Let's see what I got here. Oh, one thing kind of on that. So we have apparently there's a dilemma sometimes when not everybody shows when they reserve a spot, and so sometimes people try to go but it's full, so they don't sign up, and so that's too bad. And sometimes people come, they walk in, we want to be welcoming, but we also, you know, honor the fact that people have reserved their seats, so we don't just give them away. But sometimes what happens is the Mass starts, the reserved seats are empty, we assume it's a no-show, and so people who are standing and waiting, we say, well, you can sit here. To me, that makes sense. However, it can be hurtful if you reserved a seat and you come a couple minutes late and your seat's not there. So, you know, what's the solution? And, you know, I think really, again, the best solution for the greatest number of people is that after, you know, at 4:30 or at 8 or at 10, you know, then the seats just open up. So I'm kind of a late comer myself, so I am sympathetic for people that are a couple minutes late. And yet I don't know a better solution right now. And so if you come and your seat's gone, you probably can find room in the gathering space or something like that. But I'm sorry for those situations. I hope you understand. I hope it makes sense. So we kind of discussed that at our staff meeting today. So anyway, these dilemmas of our COVID times. It's whatever happened to the more the merrier, right? That's how we want it to be. So another hard week. So in a way, it's appropriate that it's kind of a rainy, gray day with the national news and the gun violence in Colorado this time. Just not so long ago in, gosh, I can't even remember where that was now. I remember there was Asian Americans that were mostly killed. I know it's southeast somewhere. I apologize. Yeah, I mean, the U.S. bishops weighed in and they said, you know, we continue our call to prudent gun control reform, you know, as a step toward. They've been calling for that for a long time, our U.S. Catholic bishops. And I know that's a controversial thing as well. I don't think they pretend it's a total solution, but I think they think it makes good sense. I I think it makes good sense. The word prudent is there, so leaves a lot of legal room. I always notice with these people, so it seems like the profile of the fellow who did the violence was kind of a social outcast kind of guy, and they said he was like bullied, he was antisocial, and it seems pretty common that that's the case, doesn't it? And I don't know. I think it really is a call actually to our teens to notice people that are made fun of. One, for sure, never join in on ostracizing somebody or making someone feel like they're not important or they're laughable or something like that, because that could just breed hostility and resentment in hearts and minds. And when you're able to reach out and help people know that they're good, that they're significant, they're valuable, they're worth your attention and time. And I do think our teens are in a real important position to be able to do that in our high schools. So, those are just a couple thoughts on that. It's like, I know those are always those controversial sort of things. It's one thing about our Catholic tradition is we have teachings and we have a teaching office, and so I just kind of relay those things to people, and some of them set real easily in the hearts and consciences of us, and others say, well, I don't like that teaching about gun control or something, but just put that out there for you. What else we got? Let's see. I want to get a little back into some parishy news. Let's see. I made a big error last week in the chat. I said, hey, we got enough Easter eggs for the Easter egg hunt on Easter Sunday. Not true, said Beth. You got to make a correction. So, so we could use when I say eggs, I don't mean like eggs with yolks and that can give birth to little chickens. I mean like plastic eggs that you take apart and put things in. So we need some more of those. The ideal thing, if people are able, would be to bring stuffed eggs. So the little plastic egg thing with open it up and maybe there's a little Reese's piece in there. We got like 40 pounds of nerds, and someone dropped them off last week, so that's good. I got distracted. Nice bicyclist went by there. So if you actually could bring in the plastic eggs that have the little treat or coin in them already, that'd be like perfect. So that's a less labor intensive for the people organizing it. But we welcome just the egg shells, just the egg, plastic eggs, or the just the treats too, and people can deal with that. So anyway, egg hunt is going to be a new big thing. Hopefully, the start of a lovely tradition. We got a social Zoom hour going, and there's not a lot of people in it. Can't be a lot of people in it for it to be very meaningful, but people just want to connect with others. There's about maybe a half dozen people that are doing that right now. If you'd like to be part of that, it's just like talking to people in the parish and getting to know each other. That's going to move to Thursdays at 11 a.m. I guess the weekend scheduling was not the best for the people. So if you're interested in just, like basically a coffee hour with some parishioners through Zoom, contact Christine, all right? Sojourner House is moving, our homeless shelter, just kind of across the river and down to the south a little bit. It's the Barstow Street. They've been closed with COVID because of the close quarters. They're going to be opening again pretty soon. They had been in Shopco, the abandoned Shopco, or the empty old Shopco building. So we want to keep that in mind. We have teams of ministers, teams of parishioners who minister there, who serve there, and not as many as we did before COVID. So if that's something you're interested in, right now we have teams that serve on the 3rd Thursday, the 4th Friday, and the 5th Friday. And it's just, I think it's like 3 hours. You kind of help check people in or prepare the meal, something like that. But as we'll hear in a little bit, I'm going to talk about Archbishop St. Oscar Romero in a little bit, our need to be in solidarity with the poor. So that's one way that we can try to do that as parishioners. Hey, our blood drive, speaking in solidarity with others, our blood drive, we had a goal of 30 units when the Red Cross came to us on Monday, and we harvested, if that's the right word, 45 units. So 50% more than we had hoped for. So the Red Cross loves St. James, so that's good. Good people to be friends with. Our children's, our Stations of the Cross, we've been releasing on Fridays all kind of filmed and produced at St. James. This Friday is going to be the children's version of Stations of the Cross, so look for that on this YouTube channel. Choirs have been working like crazy. They call it the mixed media presentation. So they're going to, with song and art and video. I think I'm even in one of them. But they're having for like 4 different ones. One will be released on Palm Sunday. One will be released on, I think, Holy Thursday, Mass of the Lord's Supper. One will be released on Good Friday, and one will be released on Easter. And it's going to be great, especially the Easter one. I heard is just really going to be a fantastic production for people to see. So, good. Hi, walkers. So, yeah. So that's a lot of the parish news. One of these things. Oh, community table. So we had a presence at community table before COVID. We do not right now. We certainly could, especially there's kind of not even a people contact situation. So. Christine is hoping we can form a team again to serve at it's our free meal program in Eau Claire community table. So, all right, I know our confirmation kids still went so in the last year, so that was great. Confirmation had a wonderful retreat thanks to Ashley King and Kelly Boudry and all supporting parents and friends of the program. That was last weekend at the Cleghorn Town Hall. It was actually Pleasant Valley Town Hall. It was a lovely thing. I was with them for a couple hours. We had mass, confessions, a little Q&A session. So that was good. Our confession is going to be the Saturday of Mother's Day weekend, May 8th. All right, so that's kind of a whole bunch of parish stuff, isn't it? I'll talk a little bit. So today is the 41st anniversary of the murder, the assassination of Archbishop Oscar Romero, who not so long ago was canonized a saint in our church. I've been talking about it in church and all. It's hard to just kind of summarize a life in a couple, but basically, what? So El Salvador in the 70s, having kind of civil war. They were I don't even know if they were having civil war. Guatemala was, but it was a lot of social unrest. There was just where all the power and all the money was concentrated in very few hands, and those few hands controlled the government and controlled the military. And so might makes right, huh? That doesn't really, but might often gets its way in this world. And so people committed to the gospel choose people over might and over wealth and power. And so when Romero was selected as the archbishop, he was kind of a bookish guy, no one thought of him as like a social reformer or a real feisty preacher about human rights or anything like that. So basically the people there that had the money and the power and the military were pretty happy that he was the archbishop. Wouldn't make any waves with them. Well, that didn't end up happening to be the case because he had eyes to see. And some priests who were working with the poor and trying to organize them and educate them were killed. And Rutilio Grande was one of them. He was like the first one that made a lot of news. And so that'd be like one catalyst. But just, again and again, Romero just started going out and seeing with the people and seeing their lives. He kind of got out of the library and, his heart was moved. He had a deep, deep conversion. To really be on the side of the poor. I'll read some quotes. It's not like he was against anyone else, but I think it was the firm conviction that we all have to be in solidarity with one another. So if you take the side of the poor, it's not like you're against people who have power and money. It's just like you want everyone to live as sons and daughters of God, brothers and sisters, right? And for a lot of people, that means, I guess, sharing, opportunity and resources. And for people that have all the opportunity and resources, that seems like a bad deal because other people will lose them. But it only makes fair sense, I think. So anyway, people were threatened, and he was on the bad list. He had a radio broadcast every week of his mass and his sermon in which he would call for the government to reform, end its repression, to stop killing its own citizens. He appealed to soldiers who were Catholic to stop killing their Catholic brothers and sisters upon orders, and Anyway, a lot of tumult, and they said, you better stop. As I mentioned on Sunday, you better stop or else. And or else happened 41 years ago today. He said Mass. He was celebrating Mass, and he preached on the gospel text, the grain that must die in order to bear fruit. And he preached in that homily that, as I mentioned on Sunday, that our lives can't just be about securing our own comfort. There's times in history where we have to take risks, that maybe even make our own security at risk for the sake of love of neighbor. And he was done with that homily. He was just on his way to prepare the altar, and an assassin's bullet hit his heart, and he was killed. 11 years ago, at the urging of some friends of mine in Menominee, John and Jane, and with their financial support, thank you again, I went to El Salvador with the Maryknoll priests and did a tour there, and saw all the places where Romero was, where other people, there's a lot of many other people were killed, heard the stories of the people there. But certainly the most impacting moment was when we went to that church where he was killed. And I stood on the spot where he was shot. And that's a moment I'll never forget. I remember they said, this is the spot. And when I took that step and stood in that spot, I don't know, it's kind of beyond words. But he's a martyr. We hear about the martyrs of the church. And we don't always think that they're people that, like, around now, or not so long ago. And just the courage, you want to be, stepping in that spot. Would I have that courage to keep going? Or would I cower? Would I say, okay, I'll shut up, I'll stop talking about this now to kind of save my skin, keep my security, to keep my friends, to keep my wealth, He did not, So, there's a question when he was promoted for sainthood right away, and a lot of people were saying, because he had his enemies too, a lot of people in the church are more aligned with the powerful elite than with the landless masses, and they weren't that crazy about Romero either. So anyway, there's a question: was he a martyr? And to me, it's obvious he was a martyr, because he was doing what he did because of his faith in Jesus Christ and his solidarity with people. It was all faith-motivated stuff. But other people say, no, martyr is just when someone's got a knife to you and say, well, you deny Christ, and you won't deny Christ, and they kill you. So this was a nation where pretty much everybody's Christian, so it's not like anyone's asking them to deny Christ. They're just asking them to stop promoting reform in government and stop advocating for the poor. And he wouldn't do it. But it was all faith motivated, And so when Pope Francis came, it was just clear. He just knew he was going to be canonized. Pope Francis, I think we know, we've had him for, about 8 years now? But he was elected by all reports because he gave a speech. He wasn't electioneering. He thought he was too old to be elected. But he just said from his heart, we got to be a church of the poor for the poor. And, in the U.S. and other more affluent countries, maybe we don't kind of see that as much. But, he's from Latin America, and, just the masses of poor. We talked about refugees last week. And, he's very in touch with that as the global leader of our faith. And so, it was kind of a no-brainer for him, I think, that indeed Romero was a martyr, because he really was a leader in embracing that vision of solidarity with all people. And when you're in solidarity with all people, then you're going to pay a special attention to people who are suffering. That just makes sense to me. Fancy word for it in our tradition is called the preferential option for the poor. It doesn't mean we don't love and honor and minister to people who aren't poor, but it means that we should be acutely aware of those who suffer the most in our city, in our world. So anyway, today's his day, and I hope we all have courage and we can all make compassion a real guidepost of our lives and how we really live our lives. And it's a huge challenge to me. I hope I don't sound like I'm preaching. I mean, I got a lot of security. I got a lot of things, and I don't know how I would score on being in solidarity with the poor. You know, I don't think I'd get an A+, I'll tell you that. But I want to. I think it's true. It's to my embarrassment that I don't have a higher grade. I can change. We'll see what happens as time goes on. We were just reading a book, our book club, Cardinal Bernardine. He was a Chicago priest, and Chicago Archbishop Cardinal Joseph Bernardine, and he said he just wanted to be in solidarity with everybody. He divested all his wealth. I had no idea. He just kind of gave everything away. It didn't, for his last, 5-6 years as Cardinal Archbishop there. I thought, wow, that's amazing. Anyway, so it's not impossible, people do it. It's just, unless a grain of wheat falls to the earth and dies, right? So let me show you a couple things I brought. So if you have never seen this, it's a great movie about Romero. It's actually on the Catholic Channel on Sunday night. This actor Raul Julia has since died, but it really is. It really tells a story. I recommend it if you can ever. I don't know if it's streaming anything or not. You can always get we show clips of this to our second grade parents when I'm talking about Eucharist. He goes in and the government, the army, took over a church because he thought they were organizing the poor too much. The president did, and he said you can't close a church. And he went in and he to retrieve the Blessed Sacrament at least. God was still in there, and the soldiers shoot up the tabernacle, and the hosts fly all over the place, and they fire bullets over his head. This is a couple of years before his assassination, I think, and then he goes out. And then he sees all the people staring at him, and he hasn't done what he went in to do. So he goes back in, knowing his life's in danger, and he retrieves all the hosts, And so he's taking Christ out of the church. And then again, they fire the guns, and they push him out, but he has Christ in his hands. And then they leave, and it's like the biggest tearjerker for me. So they leave, and I hope I'm not giving too much away. The car drives away, and there's all these people. This is their church, and I think they understand that he left. Then they bring the barricades back, and then the music starts. Mm-hmm. And through the smoke, the car returns, and he gets out. He puts on a stole, and he says, "We're going to go into church, and we're all going to celebrate Mass. We're going to walk right through these soldiers." And all the people follow him, beginning with this old crippled woman. It's just beautiful, And then finally, the soldiers are shamed and embarrassed into letting them pass. It's a great scene. Couple of things. Let's see. Oh, I had a. Wait a minute. Oh, it's in here. I have an image of Romero. It's an icon image. Mike. It means a lot to me because of the image, but also because Mike gave it to me. Mike Henry, who's, I think, really lives this vision of solidarity with the poor. He's our Chippewa Valley Street Ministry minister in town, and anyway, here's an image of Romero. Okay, and you can see like the helicopters of the military kind of government stuff, and there's just sort of a kind of a peasant child, obviously I think made to look like Christ, but. From the icon, if you remember when I showed you the icon of, I should hold this, shoot, I'm trying to keep the wind out of this phone. After I showed you that icon of the Our Lady of Perpetual Help, and it's the same kind of Jesus. He's looking off, and he's got that sandal falling off his foot. So it's like he's like frightened by what he sees, and he jumps into Romero's arms for safety. Just like in that our Mother of Perpetual Help icon, Jesus jumps into his mother's arm, Mary's arms, for safety and protection. So let's kind of give you another look at this here. Now I'll put it down. Isn't that beautiful? Okay. So there's just a couple of things. Also just that I kind of picked up. Oh, I don't want to get this wet, so I want to make sure it's in a good spot here. Sorry about that. All right. Well, isn't it funny trying to put things in the right spot? Okay, there it is. This is also my windshield. In the midst of where there's a lot of suffering, sometimes the cross, we'll kind of end with a couple images of the cross. Sometimes they'll have Christ really suffering a lot on the cross. That'll be popular in those cultures. A lot of blood on his body. I've seen some that are just really something like torn flesh and things like that. And in solidarity with them in suffering. But I also find that in a lot of these countries where poverty is extreme, that they have really kind of joyful crosses. I got a couple I'd like to show you here. I have them in a plastic bag, and the cross, the cross part of the cross is getting caught on the bag. Just here. So this, all right. So this is let's see, you can see it. This is from El Salvador. I think I got it in Guatemala. The same trip we went to Guatemala, and they had plenty of violence there and martyrs too. But obviously Jesus isn't on it, so that's maybe something a little strange about a cross. But it's all kind of agrarian scenes. There's a cow, and I don't know if that's like a snail or something in a little house. You got a woman there carrying water. It's just kind of the beauty and dignity of a simple life and the flowering, and it's on the cross. So I mean, it's part of Christian spirituality or Christian life. That the Lord is with people in their simplicity and desires for them to have a good life. Anyway, I like that, the beauty of that, the bright colors. One in a similar style. We got one of these to Mrs. Lutz, our school principal. She liked it, so it's hanging in her office. But I got two of them when I got them. So, that's one with Christ on it, more traditional. With the sun shining. But again, obviously he's in a somber position there. He's dying on the cross. I've seen some of these, which I like quite a bit. He's the good shepherd on the cross. So he's kind of standing, not nailed, and he's holding a little lamb. I like those too. This would be a more traditional one. But, there's something about, I think, people or cultures where there's just a lot of oppression or suffering, and people have found hope in Christ, in their God. And they really want to celebrate that, and in the sense with, the vibrant colors and the joy that can bring into their lives. So anyway, not a bad thing to end on as we get ready for Palm Sunday and Holy Week, some images of the cross. I think there's too much other things to say, so let's end with a prayer, okay? So I hope you could hear okay. The wind seems to have died down. I'll put this shield up again. Loving God, here we are on the edge of Holy Week. We thank you for our lives. We thank you for church. We thank you for saints like St. Oscar Romero. Few of us can live up to their example, and yet we are all called to. That is, never let our sense that we can't do it ever interfere with our thirst to move forward and to make changes in our lives and to take courageous steps to reach out to our neighbors in love. That's what you call each and every one of us to do. Let me read some quotes. I brought these quotes from Romero. I think you'll like them. You'll hear that prayer sort of echoed in these. Each one of you has to be God's microphone. Each one of you has to be a messenger, a prophet. The church will always exist as long as there is someone who has been baptized. Where is your baptism? You are baptized in your professions, in the fields of workers, in the market. Wherever there is someone who has been baptized, that's where the church is. There's a prophet there. Let us not hide the talent that God gave us on the day of our baptism. And let us truly live the beauty and responsibility of being a prophetic people. Another quote. I don't want to be anti anybody, against anybody. I simply want to be a builder of a great affirmation. The affirmation of God, who loves us and who wants to save us. Here there is a challenge from Christ to the goodness of humankind. It's not enough to be good. It's not enough to do evil. It's not enough to not do evil. My Christianity is something more positive. It's not a negative. There are many who say, but I don't kill, I don't steal, I don't do anything bad to anyone. That's not enough. You're still lacking a great deal. It's not enough just to be good. Challenging. I have heard that. I've heard that people are looking in a church that's for something. It's like they know so many Christian churches what they're against, but they don't know what they're for. You know, so the solidarity with all people is something really to be for. There's a couple more, but I know I've gone on long. I just kind of leave this one in terms of how we find conversion. This is very one sentence. He says, there are many things that can only be seen through the eyes that have cried. Right? Compassion means suffering with many things that can only be seen through eyes that have cried. Well, God bless you. May we maybe have the grace of tears this week as we remember the sufferings of Christ for us. May we wait in joyful hope for the day of resurrection. Okay. So God bless all of you. Look forward to checking in on Holy Week next week.